Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good afternoon everybody. Guess who's here for the showcase? Yeah, he's a little bit, it's Wally, but he's just a little bit rejection. I think that's kind of like what the MPs of Parliament are doing. They're rejecting the fact that al-Sudani and the federal judge rejected the appeals to the budget amendments that were out there. So anyway, I thought that his orneriness tonight would be appropriate because there's a lot of people out there that probably feel a little bit, understandable. What's going on? What's going on? Well, let's see what happens with this federal court rejection, because to me, I think everybody probably that follows along, I don't get too in deep or in depth when it comes to the Gazette, and I'm not going to tonight, but sometimes there's anomalies that happen in Iraq, and when those anomalies arrive, people start to take notice. And I think it's pretty much public information that a week or two ago, one of the articles one of their printings numerically didn't show up. So it's had people curious. So anyway, some things people don't talk about too is how that certain things happen, and you find out later that, wow, that's really was a big issue, or we just didn't know about that. So we just do the best that we can and provide information that is supportable to the best of our ability, and to share it with you guys. But this federal court rejects the appeal against the budget tables filed by an MP. Look, a lot of these MPs that you've probably heard and seen just recently, they're coming after al-Sudani to some degree. They have been to some degree also al-Sudani and Alak, probably for over a year. But al-Sudani's record so far has shown that he's been stellar. He's been around since, I think it was October 2022. The Ministerial Council of Economics was coming in November, and they've been just doing nothing but do what they do the way that they're doing it. And that's progress towards monetary reforms, financial reforms, and all of the subsequent things that we've been over in many of my videos. Nothing's changed to that effect. But the fact is that Alak's been in question. A lot of folks think that he's X, he's Y, he's Z, but truth be told, the MPs, they want to supposedly take him out because it's a political issue. It's political because, look, there's a lot of things that are happening where they don't want the change that's coming. Because what happened today, and Saleh brings it up, the advisor, Prime Minister's advisor, he brings it up. But the point is, what they don't want is that the dollar auctions to have been shut down. So when I say that Saleh brings it up, basically what I'm getting at is he's bringing this information to people's attention today, because he goes over some things. But the ultimate idea here is that there's people that are having their cash cow, as I've put it many times, and others have as well, is that dollar auctions was billions and billions of dollars of graft come off those dollar auctions. Well, they've changed that, and they've changed it. So some people are suggesting that, well, they just did an auction for $274 million today. So how is that a change? Well, the change is not how they're wording it. It's what the actual physical aspect of it is, and that's electronic platform. In other words, that's why these guys are complaining, is because that's changed. It's different, and that's what we've always said, is that, well, the dollar auctions may not go away specifically, but they will go away as we knew them. And we have evidence of that within the last few days to be the case, is that they have changed the way that they do it. And so you're going to get blowback. So these MPs that are coming after them, and they're consistent for the last week or so or more, or to be fair, for Alak's case, there's a bunch of finance committee people. They they can't even get it right. They said 7 to 8. So which is it, 7 or 8? There's only 12 on the committee, so how do you not know how many were on this or for it? So, or put their signatures on this rejection, or to now go, not a rejection, but to go after Alak. So anyway, all I'm trying to say is that in a short, they're moving towards to save their skin effectively. All right. Are they gonna win on this one? Well, the system's in place. If you're not on board, playing by the rules can be vetted, compliance issues, and you're not going to be. And so some of these banks, I think there was 5, may not ever see the light of day. The additional 21 to 32 or so banks may very well see the light of day because they actually get on board with the international system and start playing by the rules with transparency, legitimacy, accountability, right? Okay, once you get blackballed from the banking industry, reputational risk becomes a big issue, and banks know that. And so if you get to that point where you can't do business in the US dollar or international currencies, it becomes a problem for trade. So some of this blowback, is it going to be a little bit more fluff and vitriol? I don't know. But I'm not too concerned about it. I'm kind of pleased to see that the court rejected the appeal and shut them down. So that tells us a story that everything's in our favor. It's a good thing. So those components that we may not have heard just yet publicly could be showing up. So let's see what those components might be. I don't have all the bits and pieces on that, but I have a good strong feeling that since it's already been brought to light from other people in the world, we all know that the court has a place to publish stuff. So people have noticed that there's some things that are awry, if you will. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. This article says that also the appeal will be rejected based on the provisions of the international regulations that prevent non-governmental bodies from appealing, whether they are representatives of the people or citizens, Article 22 of the internal regulations. This guy named Mustafa Al-Karawi, he goes on to says the challenge schedules and justified the response by saying that he had no interest in the appeal. So look, it was expected that the appeals would be rejected. It was. The court would give priority to its considerations to be the supreme interest of the state by proceeding with the implementation of the budget. So they're proceeding with it. Big deal. Budget schedules would not see things back regardless of the existence of valid legal reasons of the appeal. So at the stage, they're saying regardless of the existence of valid legal reasons for the appeal, they're not doing it. So night-night. It's pretty cool. Anyway, Alak's upcoming visit to New York. We've heard about that. That last visit he had, rumor has it, if you will, it was a rough one because he came here in the United States unannounced, and he probably had some expectations of him that were not completed yet. And the reasoning would be why? Would it have to deal with the budget and to the appeals and to the reasonings that are similar to and correlated to it? The answer could be very well yes. But the bottom line is the political pressures from, I usually try to stay away from this, but one of the neighbors is embedded in Iraq's politics, and they have an agenda. And a lot of that was money laundering, terrorist financing, if you will. And so those 5 banks, it sounds like that they were pointed out and taken out, and others were implicit also, potentially, allegedly. But they may have massaged that to be able to say, well, oh, maybe we made a mistake. We'll fix it. That type of situation. So anyway, the Prime Minister of Financial Affairs, Saleh, when he talks, you guys, we usually listen. He goes, the upcoming visit of the governor of the central bank, Alak, to New York will support the protection and stability of the banking system, while indicating that the file of the sanctioned banks requires negotiation to the possibility of error and exaggeration in issuing the decision to punish them. Okay, so there you have it. What I went off the cuff with is it's pretty much what they're saying. It says here that the central bank is a strategic institution that works to support the value of the dinar and its stability, build balances in the Iraqi balance of payments, the regularity of payments, international reserves that supports Iraq's foreign trade. Okay, so that's Saleh. He's telling you that this is what our goal is, this is what we do, and that's what they're going to do, and I'm fairly certain that's what they're doing, and I like it. He points out that the Iraqi oil sales are in dollars, of course, and are deposited with the U.S. Federal Reserve, we all know that, through an open banking account in the name of the central bank, which I believe is probably the IRAC-2, it used to be the DFI, but it's changed, which is managed by the bank on behalf of the Iraqi government. Why is it there? I'm not going to get into the reasoning, but there's specific reasons why Iraq has an account with them, and its protections goes all the way back to al-Abadi's negotiations in the Paris Club. Leave it at that. If you haven't done your research and you haven't been involved in this, you probably don't know anything I'm talking about in that respect, but trust me on this one. It goes back a long time. Long time. All right. Anyway, I'll move on. It says here that the governor of the central bank, Ali Alak, confirmed in an interview with the Iraq news agencies that there will be meetings held with the federal bank and U.S. Treasury at the end of this August. Well, what's the date today? It's not far off, right? The last meeting he had was unannounced, was it not? So, to review aspects, that's what they're talking about, to review aspects related to external transfer auctions, right? External transfers, and discuss sanctions on some banks. Sanctions for what? Possibly for money laundering, financing terrorism. He's coming back. In other words, what did you do? Okay, something's changed. Isn't that what we're going to see with the new platform that Saleh talks about, the new electronic platform, how things have changed? So I think him coming back to the United States, he's probably going to bring something that he should have had done a long time ago. So we'll see. Diversifying revenues, the most prominent reform challenges, is a good article. It says the financial economic experts believe that one of the basic principles of the government's financial reform program, which was approved by the House of Representatives back in October 2022, what was it for? Back in 2022, it's 2024 now, going on 2 years. Maximize non-oil resources in the country's general budgets. So basically, what are they saying? Diversifying non-oil revenues, resources, and maximizing them in general budget is one of the biggest reform challenges in the financial and economic fields in the country. What have they been doing? They got the IQD system, they've got all the different e-government, e-banking, everything. Point of sales, they've done all this stuff. So they go on to say diversifying the country's gross domestic product, especially three sectors, which is agriculture, industry, and services. We just had an article today, yesterday, day before, specifically talking about the World Trade Organization. One of the things that they talked about was all the special components that they were to have. And it matches that like perfect, right? Because all they're saying is that we want to have, I believe in that article was that they needed to do the final legal, final requirements for accession and full when you join something, joining, fully joined into the organization, right? Anyway, that's what they talk about. So forgive me for not having the verbiage correct, but fact remains is they have said it. But we all know that if you go into patreon.com/mmandcrew.com, you'll find that if you use complete requirements as a, say, search words, right, related to the WTO, you're going to find that they talked about this and it was already done. They already have the requirements. So why are they saying that again? I put an article in, I don't know if I have it tonight, but I did a little piece on that. But it's like, are they being accurate, or are they just being a little bit evasive? But check it out. What they did was a virtual meeting. So they weren't in Geneva, they weren't face-to-face, they weren't hammering things out. They were a virtual call. I think that was this morning, now that I think about it. But anyway, keep that in mind, because I think there's things that are happening faster than anybody probably think, or not anybody, but a lot of people think. So it's pretty good. So the first step taken by the current government is to maximize those non-oil revenues, and we see that big time. Earlier this year, 2024, the Council of Ministers approved 8 new packages to reform the country's tax system. We've seen that. Led by the principle of expanding tax bases, especially those that are hidden, evading, and neglecting annual tax accounting. So they're going after the corrupt. It's that simple. The new electronic systems, you guys, are going to be like, going to be a lot different. You're gonna have a hard time getting around this blockchain technology in not playing by the rules. 2 of these packages have been launched to date, and the remaining packages will be launched in succession. So they're going to keep doing this until it's all done. And gradually, within the government's reform policy in the financial field and maximizing the state's resources from sources of income and wealth outside the oil sector. So it's huge. The non-oil sector, you guys, is going to be probably equal to or superior to Iraq's oil income. It's just the way it is. They have so much wealth in this country, and there's going to be so much demand for the dinar, for instance, because people are going to be coming in to visit ancient cities, all of it. It's just going to be a massive change to this country. The development road project is massive. You guys have seen today, for instance, that the development road project is fully underway. They showed a big picture of the underground tunnel and all that stuff, and you look at the mass of it, the cost of that, and how far along they are in it. You just go, boom, it's evidence, man. They're taking Iraq international. It's not stopping. It's just not stopping. So anybody that thinks this is going to be a lop has got to be just flat out loco. They're just not going to be able to fund all their processes at 1310, 1320, right? But one of the things that they do is they talk about that today, and it's probably not very easy for people to understand, especially. I'll leave it alone. It can be complex. That's just the way this whole thing works. But here we go. The trade holds virtual meeting today with the WTO to discuss ways of cooperation with joint coordination. I guess I was a little ahead of myself. You guys forgive me. Department of Economic Relations, Ministry of Commerce had a virtual meeting with the Secretariat and the section of the World Trade Organization in presence of the competent officers, permanent representative in the ministry in Geneva, to discuss the prospects for cooperation, joint coordination in light of the outputs. Iraq has inputs and outputs, so that's economic lingo. Excuse me. Of the third working group meeting held last July, so they're talking about last July, and complete the requirements for Iraq's accession to the World Organization. So with these, I guess, completing the requirements for Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization, I guess the ball is still underway, still rolling. The meeting witnessed the discussion of the action plan for the next stage, which includes updating the technical files, such as the legislative plan file, so that's legal, foreign trade system memorandum, so they got some understandings with foreign trade, the agricultural file, so obviously it's a very, very big component of the nature of WTO. The files of the access of goods and services, of course, straight up, to the Iraqi market, were also discussed in accordance with standards and agreements of the World Trade Organization. It's a big paragraph. It's packed full of information because each one of those things they talk about is very important. So basically the meeting highlighted the coordination and cooperation mechanisms between the Department of Foreign Economic Relations and the World Trade Organization, in addition to international organizations supporting the accession of Iraq. So could there be a laundry list of different associations, organizations? Yeah, absolutely. The alphabet soup, everybody's involved. The world's basically, global organizations are looking for Iraq to do this. And it's obvious that they're at the stage now where they're not meeting in person, they're actually doing virtual meetings. So, and this is dated today. It says here, I just say this, but here again, we're pushing for a session. We're pushing forward to a session. And they're going to need something for that accession. They're going to need an exchange rate for that. They're going to have, what are you going to base all these items that you're purchasing and selling and back and forth across the borders for taxation and tariffs? What are you going to base it off? Are you going to base it off 13 or 10, 1320 or not? Well, they haven't done it yet. So the obvious thing is, why are they having a virtual meeting today? Did something not happen the other day? Did something not happen last week? I mean, why are they doing this? Probably because they got caught. They probably need so. This rejection of that budget. Did anybody really truly know that there was going to be that rejection? No, they didn't. Did the MPs just get, a shock? I think they did. I think those MPs. I think there's some interesting names that are involved in that. And if you were to actually highlight each one of those names and do Google searches on and look who they represent and what their affiliation is, you're going to see a picture that I don't need to tell you. It's not Iraq oriented. It's one of the neighbors. That's where a lot of them have ties to. So that rejection probably just threw them for a loop. So anyway, Saleh explains the reason for the rise and fall in the dollar remittances and its impact on the national economy. Look, you guys, I'll tell you this. This guy Saleh is a powerful person. He's a powerful guy. And what I mean by powerful is that he's powerful because he gives really quality information. Sometimes obviously translations and stuff are really hard, but his focus has truly been try to advise to the best of his ability. Nasuri is the same way. Both those guys are pretty awesome. There is a guy, I think it's Zayed al-Hashimi. I'm not sure. I'm with him. He's respectable. He's got a huge, wonderful resume. I'll leave it at that. But sometimes I get some of the things that I've been reading on him is that I'm a little on the fence on sometimes of his motivations. But then again, it's like I don't understand their culture as much as they do. So I'll leave it at that. But some of the things he has brought up has got my attention because it's like as accurate as it gets. And I go, okay, well, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. But I have talked about him, and with all due respect, there's people out there we have to take, when they talk, we should listen. There's pros and cons. So talk, listen. What I do, Saleh, he's always has my attention. Al-Nasuri has my attention. So just to be fair, okay. The financial advisor to the Prime Minister, Mohammed Saleh, he's in the news. He's talking about a phenomenon of increasing sales of foreign currency transfers due to the results of what I say are important change that occurred in the policy of the Central Bank of Iraq in dealing with foreign transfers and intervening in the monetary market through the transformation of the mechanisms of foreign or financing foreign trade for the private sector from the compliance platform to new mechanisms. Okay, so this is an article. It's going to be about things changed. Okay, compliance platform. So before, were they all running to do dollar auctions and all that stuff under the compliance of the central bank and others with this new system of transparency? Answer, no. Okay, that's where they were making all their money. This is where all the blowback comes from. So the compliance platform to the new mechanisms represented by strengthening the accounts of correspondents of Iraqi banks abroad in foreign currency at a studied, Okay, they were studied in sufficient levels that are consistent with the requirements for financing foreign trade for the private sector in foreign currency. So, not an easy article for your average Joe, Sally to understand, right? Foreign currency, it's studied, so it's managed. Okay, so they understand, they mean there's a reason for it. Sufficient levels, etc. And it's all for what? Private sector, foreign currency. So that's moving money for imports, for business owners, all that stuff. So they've got a system coming up. It says after the compliance platform had previously rejected 85% of foreign transfers requests during the past months. So in other words, the previous way they were doing it, it was being rejected because they weren't in compliance. 85% was done. They wouldn't allow it. Okay, so then that's when you started seeing the banks having problems, the 5 banks, the 21 or 32 banks. Okay, all right. During the past months, the policy of strengthening the accounts of the Iraqi banks with correspondence from solid international banks as an alternative policy has become so easy. It's simple and flexible, and that it has made the implementation of daily foreign transfer requests available and achieved through foreign correspondent banks directly without going through the platform at a high rate of nearly 85% of the total demand for these daily foreign transfers. So now that used to be 85% were rejected, they fixed it effectively, because what are they saying? It's now at a nearly 85% effective. It's happening. So in other words, 15% of those people aren't up to speed, or you follow the logic, okay? Saleh explains that this high change in the flexibility of transfers has been reflected positively on the national economy. So he's boosting that. He goes on to say, as far as the stability of the functions of supply and demand with the national economy in 2 directions, so there's going to be 2 directions that he's going to talk about. First of which is the supply side, and I think obviously the second is going to be the demand side. Availability of wide supply of goods and services in the local market through flexible imports that have been financed by the, quote, fixed official exchange rate of 1320 dinars per dollar. In my view, got to be careful on how you read things, but yeah, they talked about that. So what's the implication for that? So if they're selling and going to fund the supply side to buy goods at 1320, how much dinar do they really truly have to be able to do that? And they say that they have, people have stated that they have lack of liquidity, right? But the advisor says they have plenty of liquidity. Well, they have plenty of liquidity now, but how long will it last? Doesn't tell you that, because there's only so many trillions of dollars in circulation, and if they're doing it in cash, they're going to go, how's that work? Because it just, you start building the portfolio, you start building all these different things, and how are they going to do all these imports and manage that, right? It doesn't work that way. So he's probably at the stage where they're probably using, I'm thinking, using that surplus of dinars, not dollars, dinars, to buy dollars. To buy dollars, right? To do foreign transfers. It's effectively sucking more money out of the economy for what? Their delete the zeros project. That's how I see it. Okay, you guys can have different theories. I'm just saying that this is what I'm getting from what this man is talking about. Okay, so the other direction, the demand side, which refers to the process of exchanging the Iraqi dinar for the dollar. That's what I was just talking about. For the purposes of foreign or financing foreign trade through the transfers mentioned above, which means that meeting the demand for the dollar represents a direct meeting of the demand for foreign goods, services, and benefits for the benefit of the local market. So the whole idea here is they're going to try to benefit the country. This whole article by Saleh has a positive tone to it, 100%. He goes on and points out, meeting the demand for foreign currency represents an important pillar of the monetary policy of the Central Bank of Iraq, and achieving its operational objectives in confronting the levels of local liquidity surplus from the dinar and controlling them, which constitute what is called surplus demand, as the control over local currency or liquidity represents a positive intervention of the Central Bank of Iraq. Monetary policy in the money market and controlling the levels of that liquidity. So he's got that. They've got it fully under control, and they've been doing this for a purpose. So the project appears to be completely underway and working. Saleh continues to say that this control leaves positive effects in achieving a balance between the real flow in the overall economy of goods and services. When he says real flow, you go, well, oh, so the black market was not necessarily a real flow, right? Okay, because they just got rid of it basically, or they put so much pressure on it, it's insignificant. Economy, services, and benefits, and the monetary flow within the economy of itself. So let me read this again. This control leaves positive effects in achieving the balance between the real flow in the overall economy of goods, services, and benefits, and the monetary flow within the economy itself, indicating that, right, such a balance between supply and demand achieves stability and in the general level of prices and welds growth levels, inflation rates. So it slows down inflation rates. It binds the inflation rates. It creates no inflation. So you lot people, there's no inflation, you guys. They've got it covered. They've been working on this for years. So again, without saying anybody's names, but I'm getting it on a lot of different angles. They're just not studied up on this. We have it in patreon.com, you guys. And we have this here too. And it's Saleh. It's the article. Take a snapshot of it. So anyway, which is a positive. It's positively, this is basically what they're saying. No inflation, which is positively reflected on or in the stability of the purchasing power of the dinar. So Saleh is telling you that what they've done is brought stability to the purchasing power of the dinar and the general monetary income. So change happened. Now we're going to have to watch for the results. That's what we're watching for. So here, look, I did a full-blown report today, okay? It took me probably an hour or more, but that's okay. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But if you come into Patreon and you want to get an idea of a breakdown of what I just told you, this is where you're going to find it. Okay? I think it works. It's supported. That's what we do. And that's why we have patreon.com. And that's why I do what I do, is I try to help people. And we try to help people. Militiaman and Crew has a great crew. They've been with me, or I've been with them too, for quite a few years. I think it's probably pushing 7 plus years at least. Okay, so we all do what we do the way that we do it because we care about this investment, and it's a bullish time to be paying attention to what you own. You should know it by now. Okay, put the lop to bed, everybody. Thank you very much for being with me. Like, subscribe. Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, keeps us rolling. Thank you, guys. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.